All right, how's my hair? Hair's a little bad, but whatever, still gonna do the video. All right, I promise this video is not gonna be about my hair. It's going to be an Aura review because things like unprecedented data breaches of social security numbers happen. And as events unfold, it's my duty to update my opinion with the changing times. After all, we have reviewed a bunch of products here at Security Hero, and some of them have kept up with the times, others have not. So I woke up this morning and I said, I'm gonna make an Aura review video, an updated one, and I'm going to answer this question. Does Aura still deliver on its promise to be an all-in-one security solution? And because I don't want to leave you hanging until the end of the video, I'll tell you right now that yes, I believe it does in general, but there's one important caveat that I need to cover. Before I get to that caveat, know this: if you buy through any of the discount links available in the video description below, not only will you be saving some cash, you'll also be supporting me and my channel, which I really appreciate. All right, so what's this caveat that I alluded to? It's this. Aura is like a cybersecurity Swiss Army knife that does a lot of things reasonably well, and that does one thing really well. I'll get to the one thing that Aura does really well in just a moment. First, I'll start where it's decent, but it's not yet great. And that's going to be things with its add-ons. So we're talking VPN, antivirus, password manager. These products from Aura, they're fine, but they're not where it shines. I think of these products from Aura as being good for somebody like maybe my dad or my grandmother, but not so much for me. So me, maybe like some of you watching this, I'm more of a power user. So I'm using a VPN on a daily basis for a variety of reasons. If you're like me, if you're a bit of a geek, if you already are intensively using something like a VPN or an antivirus, know this about Aura. These products from Aura, they're fine, but they're not where it shines. What I mean by that is if you or somebody you love, somebody in your family is not using a VPN at all, they're not using a password manager, they don't have antivirus set up on their machine, Aura is a very efficient way to get started with all of these things in addition to credit monitoring, identity protection, stuff I'll be covering in just a moment. It's easy to get these things set up with Aura. You're gonna have minimal upsells, overall very efficient. Now, where does Aura really shine? There are a few areas. I think the biggest area really is going to be with credit and identity monitoring. So we'll start there. Whereas credit monitoring is great because you get by default credit monitoring at each of the three main bureaus: Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. And you get this monitoring at a single price point. It's a small detail, but it matters. I give Aura a lot of credit for really simplifying pricing in the identity protection industry. What this simplified pricing means for you is if you go with Aura, discounts available below. You don't need to upgrade to like the super deluxe tier in order to unlock an additional credit bureau if you're looking for more credit monitoring or any other feature. I refer to this as tiered pricing unlock. It's a little bit of a mouthful, but basically with Aura, regardless of the plan you go with, you're going to get the same set of features. The only difference is going to be how many people are covered on your plan and how many devices things like antivirus or VPN apply to. Now with Aura's credit monitoring, you also get one-click credit lock with Experian, which I appreciate. I definitely eagerly await the day when Aura, or maybe even a competitor, introduces one-click credit freeze at each of the three main credit bureaus. That would be a huge thing to have, but as of right now, no identity protection product offers this. So with Aura, you're going to get industry best credit monitoring, but of course your credit score only represents one facet of your identity, right? There are other things, other information that together is referred to as your personal identifying information, which you want to monitor, right? You don't want to only monitor your credit score. So for example, during this recent crazy hack from National Public Data, you would want to know if your social security number is now available for sale on the dark web, if it's been leaked somewhere. And in theory, at least, this is where a good identity monitoring service like Aura can help you. And admittedly, this is anecdotal experience, but Aura did alert a family member of mine recently that their social security number had in fact been leaked as part of this National Public Data hack. Now, if you're watching this video and you know that your social security number was already leaked, your next obvious question is going to be, well, what do I actually do with this information, right? And my response to that would be that you should proactively freeze your credit at each of the three main credit bureaus. And really, this is a good just best practice. It will greatly reduce your risk of identity theft. So whether you know that you've been a victim of identity theft or not, you should still do this. Doing this will take you about an hour in total, and I'll link up a video that I made on the topic that gives you step-by-step instructions. Another very important alert is called an identity verification alert, and in the past, Aura and its sister company, Identity Guard, have been the fastest protection services to deliver this alert to me. This alert is important because it means that somebody, you or potentially a criminal, has successfully verified your identity in order to take out a loan. Now, this loan could be a cash loan, it could be a new line of credit, it could be an auto loan, it could be a variety of things. You want to pay attention when you get this alert. Last year, for example, I was a victim personally of an account takeover where basically somebody had accessed my bank account at a credit union where I bank and successfully impersonated me over the phone to one of the representatives at the bank. So they gained unauthorized entry to my account. They changed my username and password. It was a whole fiasco, again, covered in this video here, which I will also link to in the description. So when I was going through this whole fiasco, and really it was a fiasco, There's a very limited window of time, I think like 1 to 3 minutes between when the criminal had successfully fraudulently verified my identity and when Aura sent me a notification about that verification. Another thing I got to stress test while going through this experience of identity theft personally was Aura's threat resolution specialists, what they call their white glove support. You know, every company is going to promise this, right? Every company is going to say, we're on standby, we're here for you if your identity is stolen. But the reality is some of these companies have like seriously gnarly phone trees that you have to navigate through before you can actually talk to a real life human. And even by that point, when you are talking to a real life human, it's not necessarily always the case that they're going to be credible, that they're going to be knowledgeable, and that they're going to have good next steps for you to follow if you are the victim of identity theft. Not the case with Aura. I found the reps to be, 1, very easy to get in touch with, less than 5 minutes, and 2, also very knowledgeable. So they gave me very concrete, practical tips, which I give you earlier in this video. Basically freeze your credit at each of the 3 main credit bureaus. Additionally, they personally followed up with me, I think 30 days later, just to make sure that everything was going smoothly and that I had no recurrences of this identity theft, which luckily I hadn't. So anecdotally, I can report a positive experience here. Now, when it comes to Aura's insurance policy, this is where I have to take them at face value, basically. I don't really have a good way to stress test whether they would actually pay out on a claim. I mean, I guess in the interest of creating better reviews, I could have like let the thief have access to my bank account for longer and actually incurred monetary damages and then filed a claim with Aura and other companies to do a side-by-side comparison. But, but there's only so far that I'm willing to go in the name of experimentation and product testing here. So I can only take Aura's insurance policy at face value, but taken at face value, I would say it's a very good one with up to $1 million of coverage per adult on a family plan, up to 5 people total. Another thing I need to touch on here is product development. Now, this isn't a feature per se, but it's important with identity protection services. I want to make sure that they're, constantly innovating the product to the best of their abilities and that they're, not just spending all this money on marketing while keeping a static product that over the years is getting worse. Now, Aura is a relatively new company. I think because of that, they've had to innovate. So for me, it's really good to see Aura's commitment to product development, especially because there are honestly a few areas where the product is a little lackluster. The first area, and this is admittedly a little bit nitpicky, but I don't love Aura's 2FA protocol in place currently. With Aura, I can only set up 2-factor authentication with my phone and email address. I don't have the option to set it up using either an app like an Authy, or even better, a piece of physical hardware like a YubiKey. My hope is that because we are storing sensitive information with Aura, they give us more options for 2-factor authentication at some point here in the future. Now, an area where I would say that Aura has improved its product is with data broker opt-outs. When I started with Aura years ago now, I think there were a couple dozen data brokers that they'd opt you out of. Whereas now, as of today, you can see the number on the screen here, definitely notably more data brokers that they remove you from when you sign up for their service. That said, and you'll see this is a recurring theme here, whereas data broker opt-outs as a standalone, they're not going to be competitive with like an Optory or Delete Me. There's still room for improvement for sure. Like for example, I can't really see what information was used to opt me out of a particular data broker. Therefore, it's difficult for me to confirm whether Aura successfully opted me, the real me, with the accurate personal identifying information out of a particular data broker. So for sure, would like to see more granularity when it comes to things like data broker opt-outs, and I expect that Aura will introduce that soon. And yeah, those are a couple improvements yet to be made, but on the other hand, there are improvements that have already been made. Aura, about a year, probably a little over a year ago now, they introduced spam call protection. They've also taken care to update the UX, the design of the dashboard that you see on the screen here, and they make it really easy to mark alerts as resolved and to archive non-critical alerts. So essentially you can have a very clear view of what actually matters and whether you've taken action to resolve a particular alert or not. So Aura's not perfect, but if you were to ask me, is it the best identity protection service on the market today? My answer to that would be an unequivocal yes, it is. As always, discounts available in the video description below.